All right, teaching literacy can be accomplished through teaching science, social studies, and other content areas. What you're looking at here is a template for planning an integrated lesson plan. We're going to use this today when we plan out how we're going to write an integrated lesson. When planning for an integrated lesson and writing the plan to go with this lesson, you must first know the standards that you're going to teach during the lesson or lessons. We'll start by our planning by choosing the ELA standard that you will want to cover from the North Carolina Department of Public Education, or you might want to choose from your county scope and sequence. All right, so what we're looking at here is third grade standards for language arts. And the standard that we'll be covering, or the grade level we'll be covering during this time, is to compare and contrast the most important points and key details presented in two texts on the same topic. So I'm going to copy that right from the DPI site. You can see right here is the website. And I'm going to paste that into the template. Now the number didn't come, so that would be 9. Right there. That I know that it's strand number 9. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to choose a content area standard that we want to cover. We're going to choose a science standard today, and we're going to add that one to the template. So we're going to go to the essential standards here, and we're going to be working with matter, properties, and change. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at this compare solids, liquids, and gases based on their basic properties. And again, I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste that into my content area focus standards. Now, you can see that these two standards have similar verbs at the beginning, so that makes it easy to integrate. Some standards that you're going to find don't have same verbs, but when you write your essential questions, you can come up with a verb that is in common for what you want students to do. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look for the connections. Obviously, that verb is a connection that we see. And I'm going to read through them again, and I'm going to look for the connection. So we have compare and contrast the most important points and key details presented in two texts on the same topic. And then we have compare solids, liquids, and gases based on their basic properties. So when I think about my essential questions, I might come up with my own essential questions, or I might use them from the unpacked version. So let's go back to the ELA site, and I'm going to look at these essential questions and see if there's anything that I can use. So this one, how does the diagram image help you? Well, there's no diagram image, so we're not going to use that one. Read these two paragraphs. Can you tell how the ideas in the two paragraphs are connected? Time order, comparison of events or ideas and cause and effect. That is going to be one that I'm going to use, because when I go to find my text, I'm going to find text that has ideas that I can compare and contrast. So here I have my first essential question. Again, I just copied and pasted it right into the lesson. This bothers me, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that up a little bit. Can you find the part of the text that comes after this part? Can you find, that doesn't really go with compare and contrast. What is the same about the points presented in these two texts and what is different? Okay, I'm going to do this one too because it's comparing and contrasting, and the students are also going to be looking at different texts throughout this lesson. All right, so now I've got those essential questions, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to change them up a little bit so that they include the content as well. So I'm going to say, read these two paragraphs about solids and liquids. Can you tell how the ideas in the two paragraphs are connected? And we're going to put in here, we're going to take out time order because that's not what they're doing. And we're also going to take out cause and effect. because that's not what they're doing. They're only doing a comparison of ideas, actually. And we can even take out events. Okay. What is the same about the points presented in these two texts? What is different? I don't have to do anything to change that one, so we're going to leave that. So we've got two essential questions that throughout this lesson, students are going to be able to answer. All right, now we're going to use, we're going to write student objectives based on these questions. So I'm going to look at my first question, and I'm going to say, I'm going to write them in student-friendly terms because these are what I'm going to have posted in my classroom. I can tell how the ideas about solids and liquids are connected. I can tell how they are the same and how they are different. Okay, now my next objective, what is the same about the points presented in these two texts and what is different? I'm going to say, I can tell how the two texts are the same and how they are different. I'm going to change this to, I can tell how the ideas in the two texts are the same and how they are different. All right, so now I've got my student objectives. I know exactly what I want students to be able to do at the end of my lesson. I'm going to be showing them one text and having them compare and contrast the paragraphs of solids and liquids, and then I'm going to show them two different texts, and I'm going to see if they can tell how the two texts are the same and different, and the ideas in them are the same and different. All right, so now I've got to find my texts. So what I did was I picked out some picture books that went along with my content. I also looked through these books to see if there were some things that could be compared between two different texts and things that could be compared within texts. So I used my school library, my school media center for this, and what I did was I created a list of books, and I'm just going to use that. You might have other books that you use in your classroom. Okay, there we go. One erase. There they are. All right, so I've got my texts there. I also have found a great website called k12reader.com, and it has a lot of nonfiction texts. But this is the text that I found that I would use to compare and contrast different paragraphs. So if you look here, we've got a paragraph about the solids, then we've got a paragraph about the liquids, and then we've got a paragraph about the gases. And in my essential question, I wanted students to compare solids and liquids. So this would be the text that I would use here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste the link right into my lesson plan. All right, then I also found a poem. This could be used for fluency in my literacy block for third graders. We would practice reading it together, and then we would practice reading it with a partner. And we might use this poem multiple times, not just for one day. All right, you could also add in informational texts if you choose. We've got some informational texts above. In the list that I copied and pasted from my school media center. You might also have some art, music, and media connections. For example, one of the books that I know is above is the Max Axiom book, and this is on our Capstone library, which is an online resource where students can listen to texts online. So I would put that there. If you found any songs that went along with what you were doing, that would be great to use also. And All right, so now you might have a learning team activity that you're going to have them do during this time. So we might do an experiment with melting ice. Students will observe the changes in an ice cube as they race to melt the ice cube the fastest. Students will work in teams of 3 or 4 to melt the ice cube. Afterwards, you might discuss what the students who won did to help melt their ice cube fastest and what they observed as the change. Then you're going to add in your vocabulary for the lesson. Now notice I added in science vocabulary, and I also added in some ELA vocabulary also. So, in conclusion, what you would do when you're writing your integrated lesson plan is you're going to start with the ELA standard. Then you're going to pick out your content area standards. We just did science today. You could do science, you could do social studies, or you could do both. You could also do math. You could also do any other content area that you teach. And then you would write the essential questions based on your standards. Then write student-friendly objectives based on those essential questions. And then you would find the text that you are going to use to carry out those objectives. Finish up with any extra learning team activities or other connections you would make, and then add your vocabulary. Now you have an integrated lesson. You might need to go and write step by step, or you could use this template.